Welcome, No Timeouts fans. We have the amazing author of Ball Don't Lie, Mr. Kevin Cottrell. My name is Morgan Mitchell.
And I am Marcel Bowie. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us today, man. We appreciate you, dog.
No, man, I appreciate y'all for having me. I've been watching all the good No Timeout shows, so I was waiting on my turn.
You're funny. How have you been doing during quarantine?
I've been hanging in there, trying my best to keep up with The Last Dance and classic basketball games. We're doing a lot of binging on Netflix, so that's been cool, just chilling.
Well, Kevin, I've known you for a long time. You've always had a love of writing, but what specifically made you want to write this book?
That's a good idea. A good question. It's funny, sitting around just talking with a lot of different guys, a lot of ideas kind of pop through my head sometimes just about people's careers, looking back, just trying to see, like, they telling the story. Does that really happen that way? Stuff like that. And so one time just sitting around talking with Chris Webber, who happened to be in the book, and we were just going back and forth about different stories about our first year together at NBA TV. And then that's when he was like, you know what, dog, you should just write a book one day. That wasn't the day I had this exact idea, but that was the day the seed was planted. About 2 years later, I finally came up with the exact idea about online.
So for this overall masterpiece, how many years or how much time did you put into this?
Yeah, so it took me about 4.5 years from conceptualizing the idea. I put a wish list together of people I wanted, to requesting people. And then sometimes I request people, but then it might take months to actually get the interview done. So, it took some traveling, some lunch dates, even going to barbershop with a couple of people just to make sure I can kind of get them down and get them cornered and say, hey, let's do this interview.
Yeah, that's real. We know people's schedules are
yeah.
crazy. And I assume that it would have actually probably been easier to get everyone's interviews and stuff now when you know everyone's at home.
Right.
Trying to track everybody.
Oh, yeah. So anybody out there with an idea like this would be a great time to do that, Morgan. You're right about that.
And then going along with that, like, each chapter has its own story talking about a different person. How did you come up with those ideas?
So it's funny. For those of y'all don't know, creatives, we steal all the time. And so I read Charles Barkley's book, Who's Afraid of a Large Black Man? And for those of you who don't know, each chapter is dedicated to a public figure, basically, and their take on race relations in America, and everybody from Barack Obama to the Pope is in his book, and each person had their own chapter. So that was how I got the concept of doing it my way. With my journalistic background, I felt like more interview style would be better for me to write a first book versus just like a novel or something like that. And so, yeah, I read that book and I got confidence on the format of it. And then that's when I just start, conceptualizing mine.
Awesome. So you have heavy hitters in this book: Isiah Thomas, Shaquille O'Neal, Vince Carter, Tina Thompson, Steve Smith, Coach of the Year, Sam Mitchell. So which story did you have fun creating the most?
So my two favorite stories is Tina Thompson and actually Sam Mitchell. And so I'm going to tell you, so Tina's being the only woman in the book, I wanted to pick a woman that wouldn't immediately come to people's mind when we hear women's basketball, but it should, right? So Tina being the first draft pick ever in the WNBA, and when she retired, she had the most points in WNBA history. She had the first 4 titles. So that's kind of how I came up with the title, the First Lady. She just was the first of a lot in that league. And just sitting and talking with Tina, I found out she didn't even want to be in the WNBA. So just going from her journey of saying, I didn't want to be in the WNBA, there was a lot of back and forth before she got drafted about entering the draft. And so to go from, I don't want to be in the WNBA, be one of the most accomplished women, which is fun to reveal that story. And then for Sam, you never hear from coaches about stuff they do right. We only hear about coaches' mistakes, like, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you call this timeout? Or did you know that this person had 5 fouls? Just different stuff like that. So one of the most memorable seasons in NBA history, being the Warriors winning those 73 games, Sam coached the Wolves team and handed them their 9th loss and almost interrupted history. So I just thought that would be great to actually look at the other side of things. People are going to talk about the 73 wins and then the 3-1 finals, but they'll never talk about how history was almost interrupted.
And what's amazing is that I actually went to that game because I have some friends that live in San Francisco, and that's where I met Roz for the first time.
Oh, wow. That's crazy how that worked out, yeah.
I know. And we literally have a picture from that game. He was like, oh, thank you. And then I don't think we realized the implications to that game, but talking to you, you were talking about the timeline. Like, they were supposed to win that game and then rest and then go into the playoffs, right?
Right. So that would have been their 70th win. And the next night they had a game in San Antonio. I don't know if you guys remember, that was the year where the Warriors and Cavs kept resting people. And the league was getting mad, but they didn't really have the whole you can't rest people thing yet. But the Warriors would have rested people and not traveled to San Antonio. So as a result, they had a team meeting after the game. And they all decided we want the record. So they had to go to San Antonio after going in overtime in the Bay to play this game to try to get that record. And, you know, in talking to Sam, he kind of likes to believe that maybe that is the reason why they weren't able to finish the deal, because they got so mentally focused on the record, they lost vision on the whole big picture of winning it all. They kind of wore themselves down. So maybe not that game in particular, but that was one of those pivotal moments that they can look back, they could do it all over. They may say, you know what, let's not get on this plane.
Wow, that's an interesting story, and Coach Mitchell's hilarious guy.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious in the book too. He's hilarious in the book.
So, you know, we are in a pandemic right now. Everyone's home, quarantined up. So did this pandemic speed the process of putting the book out, or you already had a set date? No,
that's a great question. And I honestly believe if it wasn't for the pandemic, the book still wouldn't be ready. The moment that we got pushed down was like Thursday. I was in Denver that week, and I wasn't even thinking about my book. So I was thinking about the next trip. I think my next trip would have been somewhere I'd never been.
Was it Sacramento?
Sacramento. Yeah. Sacramento was coming up. So I kept thinking, man, are we going to Sacramento? Because I want to say California was one of those states that was first to shut things down. I wasn't thinking about the book. So that very next week, I'm also a professor at Clark Atlanta University, and we were on spring break. So the first week of being on shutdown, I didn't really have nothing to do. We didn't have anything work-related or school-related. And so I just kind of focused my attention on the book. And I just started doing research on how can I get this done. I found a copy editor to edit the book for me, give me confidence to send it to the publisher. And the moment I did that, it was like, let's go. I had a photo shoot actually planned the first week of quarantine. It got shut down because of quarantine. So then it went straight like Photoshop the cover. And so everything changed. But once that cover got done and the editing was done, it was like, let's go.
Now, since you have this one and you have so many great stories, is this going to be a series, or if it's just this one and that's it?
No, it's some people that I didn't get to get in there that I would have loved to have, like Draymond Green. So Draymond, if you hear that, hit me up. Some other people I wanted to get in there. I felt like the first book was needed, the heavy hitters, retired players, just to show people, A, I can write, B, you can trust me with your story, your legacy. You know, I'm not here to be salacious or anything, but I'd like to go get in the mind of some current players, because social media tells us so much. And a lot of times because of social media, the players themselves don't even weigh in because they don't feel like it's worth it. But being able to have your own chapter, your own 20, 25 pages to get your story out, I feel like that's kind of priceless.
And before we get to the next segment, I want to say, like, as a creative myself, it's kind of tough creating something and putting it out there for it to be dissected. So how do you feel about actually putting it out there?
Well, I'm the same way. We're all sensitive in some way, right? If you create, you're going to be sensitive about how your things are received. So it was levels for me. Like my best friends, I knew they'd be hard on me. Like, the title is stupid. I went through so many titles before we settled on God on Live. That was like a tough process, just hearing from them. So I sent each one of them like a chapter or two to read in a group chat and was like, let me know what y'all think. So that was the first step. But then it was kind of like, okay, these are my boys. They're just excited for me. I don't really feel like this is genuine. So for me, I had to wait till the book was published. And then people in the book, when they read the book, Sam called me, Tina hit me up right away. That made me feel good, especially those two, because I thought those are my two favorite stories. Isiah hit me up right away too. So that just made me feel real good about it. And that made me feel more confident with letting it go. Now, I'm still interested in hearing what people have to say, because people think they know everything about basketball already. So it's kind of hard to tell a story that we think we already know. So, I'm going into that final phase of accepting the feedback.
Well, I haven't read mine yet, but don't worry, we will give you honest feedback.
And mine is on the way.
I'm bracing for it.
So since you talked about like you traveling a lot for different games and stuff like that, do you have like a favorite game that you've been to or a favorite moment that really like, obviously you've been a hoop head and been a basketball fan growing up in Chicago, but what's the most exciting game you've been to?
I'd probably say Game 7 of the 2010 finals. That's the one that always sticks out because that was Lakers Celtics. And it's like you grow up, you hear about this Lakers-Celtic rivalry, but most of the time during our upbringing, the Lakers and Celtics weren't good at the same time. So to finally have that and have that clash was crazy. But to be at Game 7, just seeing the look on everybody's faces, I swear that's the only time I felt intensity in a building. Like I felt like something, a lot was at stake. I'll even say way more than the Warriors Cavs Game 7. I think everybody in the building still felt like the Warriors are going to win. Where like in this Lakers Celtics series, we didn't know what was going to happen, who was going to show up. And it was probably one of the most intense environments I've ever been in. So that's the one that always sticks out to me.
So we have a segment called For the Culture. It's going to be rapid fire questions. And this is specifically tailored towards you, being a Chicago kid, Chicago native. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
MJ, big impact in the city. You grew up in Chicago. What is your favorite number Jordan sneaker? And do you have a childhood or adulthood memory of what you had to do to cop a sneaker?
Yeah, so I'll make it the same because the shoe can go with the story. So I would probably say the Concords, the 11s, because I was in like 8th grade when the
1996.
Yeah, so that was I was 8th grade going into my freshman year of high school. So that was my favorite. When I was a kid, I didn't get the Concords. I got the Carolina Blues. I think when the Concords first dropped, we was all like, wait a minute, what is this? This white and black shoe. They were kind of even promoting it as a shoe to go to tuxedo. So for kids, it wasn't really accepted, but those ice blue Carolina joints were so crazy. I had those. Right. So fast forward, when the Concords re-released, this had to be like, I don't know, check the math on me, sneakerheads, maybe 2010, 11, something like that. Anyway, when they dropped, I couldn't get them. Like, got in line, everything. I went to a few different malls. I could not get them. I literally called everybody in the time zone behind me. So I called one of my boys that was in LA. So it had to be like 5 or 6 a.m. his time at this point. And shout out to my boy Derek. He actually got the shoes in my size because they didn't have his size. And it was just like, I'm going to send them to you. So I gave him the money for him. I think I might have gave him like $40, $50 extra. He wasn't trying to hit me over the head or nothing. It was just like, you like these shoes way more than me. So I'm okay with just getting it. And now mind you, this pre-StockX and all of that, you couldn't flip it that easy anyway. But I'm sure he could have walked right outside and sold that size 13.
That was very nice of him. Speaking of someone else who is now in the speaker game, Kanye, what is your favorite Ye album?
That's a tough question. So I like all Kanye albums for different reasons. His first album dropped when I was graduating from college. Mm-hmm. So college dropout, and I'm a senior in college. It was like speaking to me. Like, you know how you going through that? What am I supposed to be doing? Was this really a waste of time? So for me, I feel like I've grown with every Kanye album, right? So I'll say Late Registration is his best album in my opinion.
Does his best mean yours?
I think that's his best. My favorite album, it might be Late Registration. It just depends on the mood I'm in, what album I listen to. I listen to Life of Pablo a lot now. As much as I love College Dropout, I probably don't hit play on that as much. So probably Late Registration, and the sneaky 808 and Heartbreaks is one of my favorites too.
Loved it.
Yeah. Favorite song on Late Registration, because that's probably my favorite Kanye album as well.
It's between gone or late. So probably gone because that's with Cam on it. Well, no, I say late. I'll be late for that. Yeah. I'm like, it's a cold. Yeah, that's just cold to me. That whole late is cold.
All right, we got a couple more. Excuse me for my pronunciation. I'm not from Chicago. Only been there probably once. If you're stuck on an island and you have to choose between Portillo's, is that right?
Portillo's
or Harold's Portillo's, my bad, or Harold's Chicken. Which one you choosing?
Harold's.
Wow, quick.
Harold's for me. Yeah, for me.
All right. Top 5 favorite Chicago athletes.
Like born in Chicago or played for a Chicago team?
I'm gonna go with born in Chicago because I feel like it's more challenging.
Okay. Isiah Thomas, Derrick Rose. I might shock y'all. Quentin Richardson might be number 3 for me.
This is not just basketball either. Like this is
no. Just what I'm thinking about. Like Quentin was a god to me in high school. We was high school at the same time, so Quentin will always be up there high for me. You gotta give respect to Ben Wilson. And I'm trying to think, is there another sport that I would say? Chicago born. This is tough. I don't know. Maybe
got 4.
Cappy Pondexter would probably be number 5 for me.
Love Cappy, great style. Marcel, was there something you were trying
No D Wade, bro? Are you kidding me right now?
D Wade to go to high school in Chicago.
He was born there, bro.
I was getting real technical. D Wade, but we got to be honest. I love D Wade. Shout out to D Wade. D Wade played for the rival, so I never rooted for D Wade while he was in the NBA. I loved retired D Wade, but as the Heat, oh man, I couldn't stand D Wade, man. He was just too good. So, but yeah, no. I look at it more so like growing up.
Yeah, it's your
D Wade and I graduated the same year, so it was kind of different too. It was kind of like D Wade. It wasn't like somebody I looked up to. I guess that's kind of how I looked at it. Yeah.
All right, our last segment here, Kev. It's called No Timeouts. So you got to call a timeout on something that's going on or someone. 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Y'all got to think about what you're doing. So who you calling the timeout on?
I want to call a timeout. I know what it is. I want to call a timeout on the sneaker game. Sneaker game is killing me right now. How can you be releasing all of this heat during a pandemic? It's not fair. It's like some people got it like that. Other people don't. Can we wait? Can we get back on a level playing field? People kind of holding off on albums, even though Future's coming. And movies have been kind of like set aside for a while. But can we at least wait till the games come back before we let all the heat go? I mean, we got bigger issues here right now. And I got to be making life decisions in the middle of a pandemic. So I don't like that. So we'll give a time out to the whole sneaker game.
What shoes in particular were you had your eyes on?
Probably those all black fogs.
Bruh.
But to be fair, I did get them for my little brother. But I just felt like if it wasn't, because he really wanted them, I have a pair already. Since he didn't have a pair, I was like, okay, I'll have to double back around and get them. But if it wasn't a pandemic, maybe we both get the shoes. You know what I'm saying? He's got to hold off. Being so thirsty.
Care about like the timing of when they wear them. Right? Like, is there a shoe that's like super popping right now, but if you like bring it out a year from now, people are gonna be like,
I don't think that happens with shoes. I think they all age well. Personally, I like to wait at least a year to wear shoes. Cause then that way I know a lot of people won't have them when I go outside, Yeah. That's my logic. Maybe I'm old school.
That's actually really smart. I don't plan to test that well, so normally it's like thing to thing.
You gotta have a perfect outfit come together. It's a lot of variables involved.
I will say, you do make very thoughtful choices, like on your outfits, especially when we're like out and about in the world. It's like,
Yeah, I do plan ahead. I might think months in ahead, and until I find whatever that was in my mind, then I ain't gonna wear it. Seriously, I just won't wear it.
I respect it. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. Cannot wait to actually fully read the book. Again, everybody get your copy of Ball Don't Lie. I know it's backwards because you know how cameras work and stuff, whatever. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank y'all for having me. This was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Well, I'm Morgan Mitchell.
I'm Marcel Bowie. Ball Don't Lie. That's Justin.
Messy.